I'm keeping a secret from my ex. It's killing me. I want to tell him, but I'm scared. Years before my relationship with my ex, I had a friends with benefits. It started as a friendship. They helped me through a dark time in my life. With time, it became flirty, but when that was happening, the FWB was pursuing their now ex-partner. Everything was through message. We never did anything physical. Just a couple photos and flirty messages. So shortly after they got in a relationship, we stopped talking. The FWBs came back into my life when their relationship ended. I was at the time 2 years into my relationship. My ex at the time seemed to be very open with who I spoke to. I was even friends with a person who I was once interested in prior to my ex. So I engaged in convo with my FWB. Assuming this is fine, BC, my ex seemed to be fine with my other friend. This is bad. I caught up with my FWB through text. We were just talking here and there. They were out dating, so I gave them advice and stuff. I don't think things got flirty until my relationship with my ex was going through it. My ex had started getting distant and cold with me. I was so vulnerable. I felt alone. My ex's new friends were now taking over, and my ex had even told me after a few time of hanging with them that maybe they weren't ready for a relationship. I really wanted to see a play with my ex. I asked him countless times, pleading, and he really just didn't want to watch it. He would always just say yes to me. He had been acting distant and mean with me for like a year now. So I'm upset about it, and I had mentioned this to FWB, and they said they'll go with me. I told my ex I was going with an old friend to go watch the play. He asked if it was the FWB friend, and I told them no, afraid I won't have someone to confide in if I said yes. He was like, okay. And that was it. I was so nervous. Let me just previous this by saying during this time I didn't have many solid friends that I could confide in. My ex at the time had made some friends at work and barely wanted to hang out with me anymore, so I was left to find my own friends. Those friends consisting of someone who liked me and this FWB. I had a best friends forever, but she had her own issues. Mid-play, my FWB was feeling on my leg and I froze. I was looking at the exit, thinking of running out, but I was stuck. I was thinking of my ex, how this isn't respectful of him. I was stuck, and for the rest of the night I was felt on and touched, and to this day I am traumatized. The following day my ex went to go watch the play with his friends and I cried D. I wanted to go with him after all, but he told me no, and BC of that I was felt on and made to feel uncomfortable. I just kept thinking if only you went with me. After about 2 days of feeling disgusting, I told my ex about it, literally shaking and on the verge of tears, and all he heard was I cheated on him. He ran out my house and called his friends and left with them. I froze and it was held against me. He was mad that I said I forgave my FWBBC. I didn't think their intentions were bad. My ex didn't know the friend was my FWB. Fast forward to the next few months. I forgave my FWB and continued talking to him. I didn't have anyone else. I was working out to ease the stress from my relationship, and my FWB asked me to go over. I thought, what harm could it be? I need emotional support. I didn't last much at my FWBs. Like I said, I wanted to just go and cry and spill my thoughts on what was happening with my ex. Instead, they got on top of me and kept rubbing on me, and I kept pushing them away. I told them I had a BFX now, and I don't want that, and I told them I was leaving. I left after pushing them off my countless times, and they were just pleading, wanting to force me into S. I regrettably continued talking to them, BC. I had this soft spot for them, BC. They helped me years ago and thought they didn't mean any harm deep down. I know their intentions aren't bad. That's seriously what I thought. Fast forward to my ex now treating me even worse. He told me he didn't love me anymore and I was in shambles. His friends were what mattered most now. He was distant and mean. I felt awful. Last 3 years of the relationship, I cried so much. Then my ex broke up with me. I went to my FWB house again like 2 weeks after the breakup, wanting comfort. He used to comfort me before. I had just been crying. I regret even thinking my FWB would offer me hugs and words of encouragement. It was a repeat of the last time I was over, but this time they wouldn't let me go. They were pulling clothes down. I was numb. I was a rag doll at this point. I even cried just thinking about this. This wasn't something I enjoyed. I was clearly uncomfortable hiding and pushing them off. Eventually, I just said yes and just laid there. And I still spoke to them after that. BC, I had a soft spot for them helping me years ago. I engaged with some of their flirting at times. I've been reflecting lately and I cut out the friend that liked me in this FWB. My ex came back about a month after trying to fix things, but we still have yet to fix anything. and it doesn't seem like we'll get back. And I've been feeling really guilty lately that I was in communication with FWB. My ex mentioned that if he were to find out I've spoken to my FWB, he'd be pissed. We were on the topic of our past relationships, and he mentioned the FWB. And I feel guilty that I cheated with them emotionally during our relationship, and that I was physical with them after it. I'm disgusted with myself, and I would have never wanted to hurt my ex. I really needed friends, solid friends, and I'm happy that I've found myself a few since. I don't know how I should tell him or if I should. I haven't told anyone this and just kept it to myself. I know he'll be livid like the night I told him my friend touched me. He already would call me naive BC. I saw the good in everyone, so I know he wouldn't want to see my face at all, and I'm scared. This was my first relationship, and I would do it so much different now, knowing what I know now. I feel guilty. Too long. Didn't read I was in communication with an old fling while I was with my ex. Keeping this a secret is eating me alive. Story number 2. My boyfriend left me in the middle of the night. A little backstory here. I'm 20 Fahrenheit. Am a paramedic. I work 24 hours minus 48 hours shifts. Recently, I've been working 90-some to odd-hour weeks in attempt to get my taxes paid. My boyfriend, 23 millions, and I have been together for a while, and we get along so well that we've never fought with one another. However, the last week or so, we finally hit the point in our relationship that we did have our first disagreement. In total, there's been about 4 episodes of us bickering back and forth at one another for maybe 15-20 minutes before we say our apologies. For context, one of those disagreements, so to speak, was him expressing to me that he felt I was losing interest because his hoodie was no longer in my closet. 'Twas in the laundry, 'cause I wore it. I expressed to him that it was only because I am completely and utterly exhausted. Anyway, so last night, we go out to dinner and I fall asleep at the restaurant. I didn't mean to. However, he was distraught because if we aren't arguing, then you're sleeping. We hashed it out. He says we're okay. Sometime around 3 a.m., he wakes me up and tells me he can't sleep, and that he's going to go home and try to get some rest before he has to go to work. Understandable. So we say our goodbyes. I wake up at 5 a.m. for work, and I see that all of his stuff is gone from the bathroom, clothes are gone, pictures are taken down, and a photograph of us on top of my kitchen counter with my front door key sitting on top of it. He texts me around 11 a.m. Good morning. I ignore him. He then proceeds to text my sibling and say that he's not sure if we're broken up, and it depends on whether I reply. I am fuming at this point. In my mind, leaving your key on the kitchen counter is a fuck you. I don't need this anymore. Goodbye. Here's the kicker. He began saying that it was because we kept fighting and that he didn't know where our relationship stood, but he was tired of getting hurt. He also was saying that the main reason he left is because he couldn't sleep and that taking his things was impulsive. I start cold shouldering him, and now he did it because he was scared I was going to leave him first. I didn't love him anymore, etc. He finally took accountability for it and admits he did it to break up and he knew I would be upset. He's also saying he regretted it the second after he left. He's been apologizing for the last 6 hours. He says it was stupid of him to do. My problem is, how do I trust him again? He slinked off at 3 a.m. after a tough week together. He took hours to take responsibility for it. How do you even move forward from that? What if I never trust him again, or no longer feel comfortable bringing issues forward about our relationship in fear that he leaves me? He suggests we go to couples therapy. I don't know what to do. Is this my sign to leave before we go any farther? TLDR, my boyfriend left in the middle of the night to break up with me, then texts me and says he changed his mind. Story number 3. Can a relationship work out if a partner doesn't want to be in a relationship? I, 17 Fahrenheit, had been in a relationship with this guy, 18 millions, for about 2 years and 9 months. I've always struggled with mental health, but then I tried suicide. It was too much for him to handle, and he broke up. We never stopped talking, though. Things didn't change that much. Couple weeks after the breakup, we started making out, like, frequently again. We'd walk holding hands. He took me to therapy every week. Again, things didn't change that much. We were in a bad place in the relationship when we broke up, and not being in one gave us freedom to talk about the things that bothered us. And we started to work on these things so we'd feel better together. Months passed by, and I started to feel really bad about this situationship. We were already exclusive. I went to his house every week or so. His parents invited me to travel with them. I went to his graduation. But I wasn't a girlfriend, and this made me feel awful. We'd often talk about how we feel about each other, why we couldn't get back together, but this one time, the only reason was he didn't want to, and that was humiliating to me. We were in a relationship. He just didn't want to assume that. That's where I draw the line. I blocked him, but he texted me on Instagram and we talked a lot. He invited me to his house the next day and asked me to be his girlfriend again. Here's the thing. He still feels bad because he doesn't want to be in a relationship, but he does want to be with me. So he's trying to get over the don't want a relationship thing so we can be together. We are now together for 3 years and 2 months. Do you think we can work this out? Can he get over this? TLDR, boyfriend doesn't want to be in a relationship, but his trying cause wants to be with me. Story number 4. Should I 22 Fahrenheits marry my boyfriend, 26 millions, who makes me feel insecure? I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years. My boyfriend has hurted me a lot during our relationship, and somewhere I also was unable to understand him. He had said plenty of hurtful things to me. Suppose he misses his ex's body. He will be okay if I stay or not. I wasted his time. I love him more than he does. I need to be more intelligent. I need to satisfy him physically, otherwise he will leave me, etc. He, too, had pressured me to have sex with him and flirted behind my back. These things happened several months ago, for which he never apologized. I, too, moved on with insecurities and scary feeling in my heart. We wanted to move abroad after I complete my graduation here. Recently, we had a talk about confessing our relationship to parents, but this was not easy as my BF's dad didn't have a good reputation in the society. I knew this from my close relative, who was also his relative, but I chose to stay with him thinking that he might be nice kind of a guy. But throughout the relationship, he didn't treat me well. It is when we talked about disclosing our relationship, he started treating me good. Basically, it's been just few weeks that he has started treating me good, otherwise he used to greet me with, "Hi, stupid," in a response of, "Hey, handsome." Moreover, since he found that manipulating me is easy, he also expressed that he will certainly convince me for threesome after marriage. It might be due to that I had told him dreaming of naked women more than men. I had told him that I can't see him having sex with other women, and I myself can't imagine having sex with other men. But he constantly expresses that he wants it, due to which I'm scared that he might cheat on me if I don't agree. On the other hand, he also promises that he won't cheat on me. He will love me a lot after marriage. I am not sure if I should trust him. I'm filled with insecurities, and part of me don't want to fight for such a person with my loving parents who have always fulfilled my demands without questioning me. However, I had tried to cross-check with my mom once, but she directly refused to accept our relationship. She told that when we marry the whole family and society, and nobody will respect us in the society. If I decide to marry him, I will get hate from everyone. We won't be able to handle that, etc. And I agree to her statements that nobody will support us if anything bad happens, which I think have chances to happen. So I'm really scared about the marriage thing with my boyfriend. My boyfriend is not even ready to visit a counselor. How should I move forward? Will our marriage have positive consequences? TLDR, my boyfriend has been disrespectful in our entire relationship. I'm really confused and scared about marrying him, though he promised that he will love me more after marriage and will never cheat. Story number 5, 19 minutes. I want to move out from my overly attached grandparents, 60 meters, 60 Fahrenheits, but feel pressured not to. I've lived with my grandparents for most of my life and recently decided it'd be best for me to move out for various reasons. One of them is because of how dependent they are on me emotionally. They argue constantly, talk about how depressed they are and how much they hate their lives. My grandmother is especially needy and copes with her issues by trying to infantilize me. I've expressed countless times that I don't like it, but she doesn't listen. It's a very negative environment that doesn't value my voice. Yet without me being there for them, they'd only argue more and become more miserable. I told them a couple months ago I was thinking of moving out, and my grandmother had an anxious meltdown. My grandfather sort of understood because my reasoning I used was I wanted to be closer to my university. Nothing has happened since then. None of their children, my father, aunts, want to take responsibility for caring for them, so it was pushed onto me. My grandparents believe that I'll be the one caring for them for the rest of their lives, without so much as asking me. They are toxic, and I'm not sure how I feel about them, but I am grateful for the home they've given me. They let me live with them after my parents divorced. But I'm only treated as a mistake and a burden. They feel shame that they have to clean up after their son's parental failures while they should be relaxing. I wanted to try and make their lives happier as their time winds down, but I can't do it at the cost of my own wants and needs. I want to socially transition, MTF, but I am well aware they would hate it. I feel torn between the guilt I would have for abandoning them and the need to develop my independence. I'm losing sleep over it. TLDR. I want to move out from my codependent grandparents but feel guilty about leaving a void of responsibilities behind. What can I do?